Hello and welcome to a new reading vlog. My dog is acting really crazy because I put my jacket on so he thinks we're going for a walk. We are not going for a walk. I am starting a reading vlog. Now, I don't usually do reading vlogs for just one book. It's not something I do as commonly, but I thought this was a special occasion, so I'm coming to you from my cozy, I'm coming to you from my cozy Sunday night with my very crazy dog. Because I thought I would do a dedicated reading vlog for this book. He thinks we're going on a walk because I've got my jacket on. Hi, let's get down. So I thought I would do a reading vlog for this new release, Just Friends by pham. And I thought this would be a fun one to do a dedicated reading vlog for. This is a debut book, and I, for years and years, have watched pham's videos. My sister was a really big fan of her YouTube channel, and probably like 2016-ish. So I have been watching her for a very long time, and then over the last few years, I really got more into her channel as she started to create more and more book content, and just getting to watch her fall in love with reading has been such a joyful experience. And then to see her, to see that love lead her to writing her own book has just been really, really magical to see. So I am very excited to read this. This is a contemporary romance. It is a second chance romance, childhood friends reconnecting after years apart. It is a small town beach. There is a coffee shop. I am a sucker for a coffee shop in a book, so I am very excited to get started. There are these beautiful illustrations on the chapter headers. This is the first printing, so we've got these end papers on both sides, which is really cute. And then there is also a little handwritten note from her at the front of the book, which is also a very special detail. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started reading this one. I will update you every so often. I think this is going to be a spoiler vlog since I'm only talking about one book. If you don't want spoilers for this book, don't watch this, come back later. So yeah, I'm gonna go get started on this, and I will update you when I have some thoughts. Another very, very casual pajama update. I'm only like 40 pages in, but I wanted to really kind of update my thoughts throughout the book if I can, even though I think I might be reading some of it while I'm at work this week. But 40 pages in, I'm of two minds here. So one, I'm trying not to overhype the book in my head because it's one I've been excited for so long. And I'm like a big fan of her YouTube channel. So I'm trying not to overhype it and trying to go into it objectively. Kind of oppositely of that, oh, there's an ad on my ambiance, sorry. Kind of oppositely, my other thought process is that this is a debut. My hair is wet and getting my shirt wet. Anyway, I told you this is going to be a real cozy vlog. This is a debut novel. So, and I typically tend to judge debut novels kind of on a different scale. I think they deserve more forgiveness, and that's across any author. There aren't, I've read indie debut novels, and then the one I think of a lot is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. If you compare Throne of Glass to A Court of Silver Flames, the style of writing and the substance of writing is very different because she had time to grow. And so I try to approach any debut novel kind of with that thought process and that energy. All of that being said, I'm 40 pages in, and I'm trying really hard to kind of temper how excited I am and how impressed that I am thus far with the actual content of writing and what I think this setup of the story is going to be. I'm very impressed with the writing. As a contemporary romance debut, I was kind of expecting something pretty simple, writing style wise. Simple is not bad, it's just simple. but the prose is already like so impressive and I'm having a really good time. There's already been multiple laugh out loud moments, but I also just am feeling that this is going to be a heartfelt story. So Blair has been at college for 4 years, was supposed to be going to New York for a job, but her aunt is sick. So she is back home to spend the last months of her aunt's life with her. But while she's here, she is going to try and get a job so she can still start saving money to help her mom be able to retire. I'm already hoping that we get more into the aunt and the mom stories. I think they both are going to be very interesting. The aunt escaped Saigon and is a refugee in America, and then the mom escaped an abusive marriage and moved in with this aunt. I don't know if they're like actually family relations yet or if it's just like found family. Not sure it matters either. So that I know is going to be an emotional element with the aunt being on hospice and everything. And then this also is a dual timeline book, which I'm a sucker for a dual timeline, so I think that's going to be really fun. So there's chapters where they're 16 and then chapters where they're 22, so 6 years apart. And they were best friends all through childhood, and then something happens when they're 16 or when they're at some point in high school. The flashback chapters start at they're 16. I don't know if they're 16 the whole time. So something happens between then and now, and I'm very interested to see what that ends up being. But I'm going to keep reading and I'll update you later. Hello, a reading update for Just Friends. I am almost halfway, like a third of the way. I'm on page 143, chapter 12. I am still really liking it. It is very emotional, very angsty, but the writing is so lyrical and unique, and just really, really beautiful. And the characters are very complex, like emotionally, and I'm really liking it. It's a dual timeline, so there's still a lot of unanswered questions about what happened in the in-between time and in the past, but I'm really, really liking it so far. We're almost halfway and not a lot has happened between the characters because we haven't unveiled what happened in the past, but definitely looking forward to finding out what exactly is going on. I can tell that Declan has so much like care for her, but obviously there's something in the past blocking that from coming out again. And then I also really, really, really like the way this book is addressing grief and like illness in a family, and also that's just being written very beautifully. And then I really like the conversations that are kind of around her past trauma, if you will, or like her issues in childhood, and that her father left and like she never really got to resolve that, and how that affects how she approaches relationships now and in the flashbacks. It's just been really, really interesting to read. So definitely enjoying it, going to keep reading, almost halfway, and I feel like this is one that I would love to annotate actually, because genuinely there's just so many bangers in here. So I'm gonna go keep reading and I'll update you later. Oh, it's so dark and that fan is probably really loud. I'm sorry summer has come early to Arizona. I'm probably only like 30 or 40 pages farther, but I have a couple of things to say. One, the way this book is addressing, I don't want to say like the breakdown really, or like the changes in friendship that happen post-college, loving that. And I really hope it comes to a confrontation, because I have some things I would like to say to her friends. They are frustrating me quite a bit, but I think it's also just a lesson young adults need to learn, and that I'm still learning. So I really like that bit of the writing. Everything, the writing is just so like rich and heavy, and I love it. My other thing I was going to say is, if I was given a house and a job at a cafe, I would, in a beautiful seaside magical town in California, do you know how quick I would swoop that up
That's my dream. That's my dream. I don't need to be a nurse anymore. Give me a beautiful cottage with a garden for free, and I'll work as a barista at the small town cafe. I'd be so happy. Oh my God. Oh, just beautiful dreams. And she wants to leave all that for New York. There's trash everywhere. I hope she stays. Oh, if she wants to explore New York and then come back, that's a good storyline too. But I'm gonna keep reading and I'll probably update you tomorrow. Hello, a reading update. I have finished Just Friends, and my dog followed me in here, as you can see. So some final thoughts. Overall, I loved it. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. Like I think I said in one of my first updates, I had already been starting to see people like give it really bad reviews and kind of like, how else to say this other than like shit on it. I think like I just feel that this happens a lot with young women who release books, like, and especially if there's someone who has a platform beforehand. I don't think people give a fair chance to books a lot of the times. So I went in trying to be very open-minded while also trying to remember that this is a debut novel, and also that I am a little bit biased too at the same time, because it is someone that I have followed online and really enjoyed, you know, her content and everything. But I'm objectively like, what is he doing over there? Come on, sit down. Objectively, I think this is a very well written book. My only critique is I actually think it could have been a little bit longer. I think the ending could have been a little bit more expanded, but the emotional exploration and journey that happens throughout this book for multiple characters is so well written. And like, this is a book written by someone who's been to therapy. I can feel that deeply, and I love that. I think that needs to be in more books. Do you know how many contemporary romances I've read over the years where I'm like, this entire book could be solved if just a single one of you guys went to therapy? I'm just saying. So I really, really loved this. Kind of a reflection on, you know, everything that happens in the end. I thought the push and pull, and I don't even think you can call it a third act breakup, but like the conflict in the end made perfect sense for these characters. This is a character, Blair is a character who is facing one of the biggest challenges of her life. She's facing so much grief and like having to face what that means to her and how she's going to approach that, and every day is different because grief is different every day. And at the same time, he's already kind of gone through that. He's been dealing with this grief for 4 years in a different way, grief of a life that he was supposed to have but didn't get to because of an accident, something that he couldn't have prevented, some like, you know, it was a freak accident, and yet it changed the entire trajectory of his life, and he had to readjust to what he thought his life was going to be. On top of that, having a horrible argument with the girl that he loves and like not being able to talk to her anymore. One of my favorite moments in the book was the classic moment of like, well, didn't you get my letter? And the other character being like, what letter? The Artful Dodger just did that in season 2. 10 out of 10, no notes. And it does it in this book. And I love that trope. Is it just sort of a recreation of the miscommunication trope? Yes. But I'm here for it and I love it. So I'm having a great time. I just think everything that they talked through emotionally in the end made perfect sense, and the times that she pulled away and the times that she was able to push herself forward made perfect sense. They were frustrating to read because I was like, just talk it through, but she's going through so much, and right now, like in that moment, she's like, I'm not ready to talk this through. I need 2 days alone. And that made sense, and it was great, and it was really good, complex, emotional storytelling, and I really liked that there were conflict resolutions, not only with the romance in the story, but also with her mother, getting to confront that I think is a very, very common narrative for a lot of people. Like if you grow up in a home with not a lot of money, or you grow up with a single parent or a parent who's had to work really hard, multiple jobs, whatever it is, you're, as like a, you know, the first generation to go to college, that person puts so much weight on their shoulders. Well, I need to go to college, I need to make money, and I need to support my family how they supported me. And her getting to confront that with her mother and talk that through, and her mom being like, I did all of this because I wanted to be my own person, and you now have the opportunity to be your own person. You don't need to be someone for me. So loved that conversation. And I mentioned in one of my other updates that like her friends were kind of annoying me. They weren't supporting her like as much as I would have liked them to. But they had a redeeming moment in the end as well. She calls them, because, and I think I said this before too, what's hard, especially in young adulthood, is like learning that push and pull of when you need to ask for help. And she kind of finds that she asks them, she said, I'm not okay. I need you guys to come and help me. And they do, and they show up and they talk about it. And that was a really, really beautiful moment too. What are you doing over there? And I just think it was a really, really, really well written book. For this being a debut, there's so much beautiful prose, and just, I really can't emphasize how emotional and beautiful the storytelling was. And I actually teared up quite a few times. So I loved it. I'm giving it a 5 stars. So I'm really glad that it did not disappoint me. I've definitely had books from like content creators or like just people that I really want to love and don't end up loving, and this was not one of them. I thought this was fantastic. So if you want an emotional romance book, young adult to new adult, it is closed door. I can't really call that a critique. That's a preference. I wish it had been like a steamier read, but I also know that like she tends, like Haley Pham, like in all of the reading vlogs I've watched of hers over the years, she tends to prefer like a closed door, like sweet romance, which is totally fine. That's a preference thing. But I overall just think it was a really, really well written book. And if you want a very sweet, emotional romance, definitely check it out. Trigger warnings for grief, for sure. And car accidents and cancer. I feel like that kind of sums everything up. But 5 out of 5. I loved it. And I think I cannot wait to read what else Haley Pham wants to write in the future. So I hope you liked this little reading vlog. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I'll talk to you guys next time.